Hey, what's up? It's Kier, and I am going to try to unpack something that I've been thinking about a lot recently. And specifically, it has to do with being a creative person online. I would love to not really have all of these new shows be about that, but it's something that's definitely always constantly on my mind, of course. And also, it's just kind of, I've been figuring a lot out lately, I guess, and kind of understanding myself more. Whoa. Understanding myself more, and like how my brain works with stuff like fame, stuff like attention, things like that. I've already forgotten how to color objects, like fully. Anyway, okay, so it's a big topic. My brain, for whatever reason, is... I've already forgotten how to like fly around. That does that. Oh, 3D view. Right. Okay. My brain does this thing, and it has for probably the past 5 years, I'd say, pretty heavily. And it comes from, I know where it comes from. It comes from just being a person who likes attention, but also it comes from capitalism. It comes from being a creative person in the society. I don't want to get too like blamey because my life is, for all intents and purposes, pretty good, right? Like I'm not actively suffering that much, like in comparison to how much I know for a fact that other people around me suffer. Like it's not as much as it could be at all by any means. Like I have even just the fact that like I have the it's technically leisure time, but I would love to be a content creative person because I'm creative. We'll get into that. And if you've heard anything that I've ever posted up online, I'm sure you've heard me like talk about this. But okay, so right, for like the past 5 years, I think I could trace it back to getting older and getting out of college, because I did 2 years at a community college, did 2 years at a state school, so I did like a 4-year college deal after high school, and I ended up majoring in visual arts with a focus on drawing and painting, and so art has always been my thing. And when I graduated high school, I'm like, you know, what am I going to do? My parents really wanted me to go to college. I had great parents. They were very supportive of all the stuff I've ever done, even like skateboarding, even art, even things that they're pretty conservative. So I would think that they might not be cool with things like skateboarding and me hanging out with like dirt bags and stuff. I mean, for the most part, the people I hung out with weren't dirt bags, but you know, they'd let me go to the skate park and like people were like smoking a bunch of cigs and like smoking weed and whatever. But they knew that I was like a good kid, I guess. I don't know. Like I wasn't going to, I think I got it instilled early in me that like I don't want to mess up. Like I have a huge fear of like police and legal stuff and getting in trouble, and just it makes me super paranoid. And like, but at the same time, like nothing bad has happened to me yet. But it comes at a price of like anxiety and paranoia about anything, and like so far to the point that like I feel like I'm actively doing something wrong, that I actively owe somebody like $10,000. Like I think about that a lot. I just feel like I actively am doing something wrong that I don't know about, because I don't know, sometimes things have been like where I moved, there's like taxes that nobody told me about, but someone just happened to mention it, and it's like, what if that got backlogged? I wouldn't have known about it, and then I would have owed like so much in random taxes that aren't on any official thing, that never got sent to me, and I just happened to find out about it from somebody. And it is a real thing, it's not a scam. Like, I don't know, how can I make this camera setup not make me look gross? I don't know. Okay, anyway, so I'm that way because my parents kind of like made me that way, and it's good and bad, and it's fine. I'm not like blaming anybody for anything. So, okay, out of college, I'm like, obviously, as an artist, as a visual artist, I do make visual art. Some people that know me would consider that like my main deal. I don't necessarily consider that my main deal. Personally, I consider music my main deal, but that is a whole nother thing that I just have huge doubts about. Now, when I do list people that I look up to who are like doing it, as it were, like doing it big now that I'm like, I would love to be in their position. They are musicians. They're visual artists, but they're musicians. First and foremost, like their thing is they make music. That's what they're known for. So I'm not necessarily like trying to do that. I'm just saying that I love making music, and it's one of I just get a lot of joy from it, and it's one of the things that I can like spend literally all day doing, working on a song or working on an album. And at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do that again tomorrow, and I don't care. Like that for me, as like an obsessively creative person, that's a big deal, because usually that type of dynamic I loathe, especially when I start to like dread something. I really start to dislike going to somewhere that I don't want to do every day. I really hate that. And it's been a big issue for me trying to find work, like obviously. I don't think that it's necessarily because I'm lazy. Obviously, I tell myself that because that's the narrative that like, especially being someone who comes from being like growing up as a boy, becoming into manhood, whatever. Not necessarily that I truly identify with that stuff personally, but it's just kind of like the path, and for me, like coming from kind of like a white bread area and being super white and like all that stuff, like you have a path there. I also grew up in religion, so just that whole thing, you have a path set for you. I was like supposed to marry a good Christian girl and have kids and have like a normal job, and I know that I would have hated that. Absolutely, it's not me. So I'm glad that I'm where I'm supposed to be now, and not in that situation. Sorry if my parents ever find this and that somehow offends them. It's just the truth. But that's not me, and I'm just different than that, and that's whatever. Now, I knew that early on, and I kind of like aimed myself out of that early on and tried to figure out what I'm going to do. But you get out into a place where you figured out how to like get past those expectations and make it in the normal world without that vibe. Support yourself, etc. And I'm still not where I need to be on that. I can't figure out how to resize this thing. What am I doing? Okay. Yeah, I don't want to do that. Anywho, I don't like that at all. How do I select this thing? What is happening? Okay, we'll go with it. Anyway, I get out of, I figure out my life out of college, and it's always just been kind of like, well, how am I gonna like quote unquote make it, right? I have these creative goals in mind, and I would love to. I think the goal, even without thinking it in these words, the goal has always been to make creative things, and I guess this really derives from like capitalism. Make creative stuff that like videos or music or stuff that a handful of people can consume. Consumerism ideas, product ideas, right? Consume and make their day better, right? That is the main goal, is to make somebody's day that less sucky because I uploaded a video or something. And I think through all this, I have to like note that I'm not necessarily saying that like the things that I make would ever do that. They might if I kind of set it up that way. I don't know if now is what I'm saying. I don't know if now, like, the way that I've set things up is really the best, just like the best vibes, because I'm usually like complaining about things. Maybe sometimes it's fine, I think, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm not like, oh yeah, my stuff's the best. Like, heck no. A could always be better, and B, I'm in a weird place right now, and so making stuff is going to reflect that weird place. And it kind of has for the past, like I said, 5 years or something. But, alright, so I'm like, what am I going to do? And I think out of college, I had some plans. Even now, it's like my plans are completely different than, unless it's a consistent project, like, I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea. And it's really, I choose what I'm doing when I kind of like get an idea. And it happened, I think that's organic. I would kind of say that it is. It feels organic to be doing things that way. It feels genuine. It feels like the right stuff to be doing. I like that. I like when other creators feel genuine, etc. So I am just kind of like, confused at what to do. Whoa. Oh, that's weird. I didn't know there's a gradient on this. In my experience, if you just make stuff, on the first thing, if you have like a handful of people looking, the first thing people are going to be like, oh, whoa, that's sick, cool, like you made something. And then you keep doing that, and if your fan base, like your mini fan base, because now we have like everything is kind of like micro celebrity now, which is a word that I guess I'll get into why I'm using it, because I am using it in the title and all this stuff. But they're going to be like, oh, that's cool, you made something, and you make more stuff, and it might not hit right, it might not be like your best stuff, it might not be curated right, I don't know. But what I've found is that sometimes stuff doesn't work, like you just build it and people are like, oh, this is amazing, unless the setup is that vibe already. But for me, it's kind of been like, I make stuff, and sometimes there's pockets of interest here and there, but primarily it's a lot of like, I guess, failure. But like I said in, I think it was last stream, I was like, doesn't mean, just because you make something and nobody interacts with it doesn't necessarily mean like failure. Like you sort of have to do that, especially as a creative person. It does suck. Creative people online, just because you make something doesn't mean that it's good or that people will even look at it. Which means at the start of being creative, you're doing a lot of things for free. And, technically, I look back on all the stuff that I've ever made or whatever, like I have the back catalog of stuff that I've done and accomplished, like for myself. Again, not trying to be like proud, whatever. I'm proud of the things that I made that I'm proud about, but I'm not trying to be like, oh, I made so much good stuff and y'all are missing out. Like I hate that idea. I hate it so much because it's so embarrassing. And maybe I do think that deep down. Maybe I do. Maybe I wish that people interacted with like everything that I made. Even if they did, though, I feel like some stuff is bad and people will be like, hey, this is bad. And my brain might not want to hear that. But you should always welcome critique. So there's a lot of sides to it. But, okay. So yes, maybe I think that, and I don't want to admit it because it's embarrassing. It's a full possibility. I have to not. It would be foolish for me to say that it's not. Oh, we're touching our face now. We're gonna get. Don't touch your face if you don't want corona stuff. Oh, is that a buzzword now? Maybe I shouldn't say the C word. It's not the C word. Okay. So, thinking about like how you're going to quote unquote make it, like why do we all have to like make it? So throughout my time being alive, I was born in 1993, and throughout my time being alive, there's famous people, there's celebrities, right? And in my time growing up, it's mainly like movie stars, musicians, rap musicians, like those are the people who are at the top. And I guess especially now for like rap and stuff, that's like the height. Movie stuff isn't so much now as it was when I was young, just in terms of star power. But yeah, like pop musicians, there's a handful of people who are like at the top. Now, I don't know if I'd wish that life on anyone. I don't think that's a good I don't know. I mean, some people might want that. Some people might really, really enjoy attention, and that might really do it for them. But goodness gracious, you can't go outside. That's not a good. I don't know. For me, I would never want that. That's not a goal that I slightly have in mind, ever for my life on Earth, in this body, whatever that means. Like, I don't know how reality works. I just wake up every day and I'm like, back here, what am I gonna do? You know. So, but more so, I personally always think of some examples that I would kind of barf out are Dorian Electra, for one, and 100 gecs, the duo. Now, those are just two random examples that people I look up to because they are in the LGBTQ community, at least one member of 100 gecs, and they're just on my radar. And I'm like, okay, so not necessarily that like I want to be them or something, but I'm like, that level of notoriety and people respecting you, people interacting with your art, that level seems, I mean, it's, the grass is greener. It might be awful. It might be too much attention. It might be just past what I'm kind of trying to get at, honestly. Even for Dorian Electra, like, I feel like they have kind of crossed, like, the micro celebrity boundary, sort of into, like, mainstream. They just got a picture, like, in Playboy or something. Like, that is a step up for that many people to know about you is like, wow. And when I saw that, I'm like, wow, we've really crossed something here. Like, that has crossed into a new territory. Don't really know about Playboy that much, but I'm assuming there's money involved. Like, get your money, I guess, maybe. I don't know how I feel about that. Whatever. So, but do your thing. I guess it's cool. Yeah, I think it's cool. That's like Playboy. Like, Playboy's a little gross. Anywho, just check their Instagram if you don't know what I'm talking about. There's like a photo. So that level of notoriety, I'm like, that could be like a goal that I would not hate getting to. Now for myself, I don't think that will ever happen necessarily. I tweeted something the other day that kind of summed it up in a sentence that I should probably just reference to make clear that I don't think this will happen, and I just don't think it'll happen. Say all you want about like good intention, bad intention. I just don't know, and I think it's better for me to assume that it won't happen. I think that's better for my mental health. It is more depressing, it is more sad, I guess, but I don't know. My username on Twitter is moldy_NB. Okay. I need to teach myself to be okay with how I'll likely never be a part of the mainstream creative conversation. Well-known creative people probably won't ever be my peers. My right place, right time, quote, industry moment may never come. That's normal and okay and not failure. I have to tell myself that, because if I don't, like, that moment is around every corner. That moment is around every corner that I put something up online, and I guess in the back of my head, I'm constantly disappointed when I put something out and nothing happens with it. I half expect it, and also half expect things to maybe pop. And I think, for one, things will pop when you don't expect it, but also, like, nothing's guaranteed to pop. That's not how it works. Like, stuff, we have a word for it because it's kind of random. It's not especially on the internet. I'm glad that we have the internet for those purposes, right? Like, I'm glad that I have access to tools that I can make a radio show, that I can make a TV show, a YouTube channel. I can stream things. I have all these resources, and I've amassed the gear to do it. I have the pieces, and I can play the game. It's just that being a known player of the game is not necessarily so accessible. It is accessible though, and I think that's what bothers me. It bothers me that I have the tools to achieve my goals, and I just haven't made something like good enough yet, you know? And you could really get down on yourself about that. That's attributes to burnout, that attributes to so much stuff that's actually problems in the creative community online, in terms of like you upload every day and nobody comes. And it's like, I must be bad. I don't upload every day. But I see people that do really grind and get not that many views. And it's like, you know, I mean, hopefully they're doing it because they like it, but I could also see doing it because you have a goal in mind, because you have a goal of an audience in mind, because you have a goal to help people's days out, to support people, to build a community. Those are all noble goals, you know. Those aren't inherently bad. I think through any of this, like, I have to admit to myself that I do like attention. Like, it can't be all pure at heart. Like, everything that I'm ever trying to do creatively is like, I just do it for me and I just do my art, whatever. Like, I do think that, I would hope that's kind of true. I think it is, but I cannot put it past myself to be doing things for attention. Like, at the end of the day, I don't even trust myself. And I have to assume that I'm doing things for those reasons, because if I don't, I'm gonna find out that I am. You know what I mean? Like, I have to. It's just, brains are very strange. And you know, you could be 20 years into an art career, into a YouTube career, into whatever career, and be like, oh, I was doing all this because I am like lonely, or something that is a deeper thing. And that's not a bad thing to realize that. I think maybe in my head I'm like, well, I wouldn't want to have that realization moment, so I'm just going to avoid everything by saying both things. That's a little bit weird. But I don't know. There's a lot of sides to it, and I don't really have a good answer, but I think it's important for me to be like, I could just be doing that for those reasons, and I could just be like not doing the right thing right now. I have no idea. I really don't know, but I do know that I follow my thing when I feel it. I follow my direction when I kind of, and I appreciate when other artists do that too, seemingly, like Adore and Electra, like 100 Gex, like whatever. I appreciate when I see things that feel genuine, that feel inspired, that feel fresh, that feel like they're pushing the limits of things, like they're, you know, I love that, and I want to see more of that. And I also know that I have that capability within myself. I have whatever that is, to like just be a weirdo and like think of things that I think are pretty of course, it's like everything is an amalgam of everything else you've ever intooken, right? Like, everything is kind of based off something else, but I feel like I have that in me. I appreciate when other people do too, and I think that can contribute to you being like, oh, all these people out here, Dorian Electra is my peer. I commented on their post the other day and they liked my post. That must be my peer. It's not. But it could be. You know, with the internet, things are so blurred. With social media, things are so blurred. I don't think Dorian Electra has a media team yet. The Dorian Electra interacted with my post that said, like, I like this set or whatever. For Guyliner, I commented on it. I was like, this set's awesome. And they probably go through all the comments and like I try to do that too. I try to like all the stuff that's saying nice things, and I read it. And I think that's a big reason of why the internet is pretty cool, because you can interact with fans. It's not so hands-off. Like, when I grew up, movie stars, you would never think in a million years, you know, kids would write them letters, but you wouldn't, you know, if you got a letter back, it's like, whoa, it's life-changing, you know? And, you know, for what reason do we really need to be praising that behavior, to encouraging that behavior? I don't know. Also, the kind of like just the weirdness of, like, you know, you're a fan of somebody because you think they're attractive when you're a kid, and the in reality what that age range is just kind of weird. Not the best look, honestly. That's the big thing in any like fandom, stardom stuff still. Like, that's a vibe, and It's kind of gross. But that, I'm sure that is weird for the people, for everybody involved at all times. Like, I don't know. Um, yeah, I don't. I also would not wish that on anybody. But so now you can interact with people online, maybe even DM them. I mean, depending on how big they are, but I don't know. In terms of like that stuff, I think a lot of it's just better not to get into the DM thing with fans sometimes. I don't necessarily think that way. I'm not like that big or anything, but in terms of like the DMs that I have to field, it's not near that amount. So I can still respond to people and have conversations with anybody on any of the accounts that I have, and I think that's great. It is nice being in this position where I do have. So okay, personally, I have like on my main account. Not that it's all about followers, but it sort of is. It sort of weirdly is about followers. Um, yeah, on my main account I have like 1,000 something, and then on my fingerboard account I have like 1,000. That grew way faster than my normal account, which is a bit. It's not troubling, but it's kind of like, I don't know. It's just a signifier of like, okay, I don't know if what I'm doing creatively on my like quote unquote real account is really working, because I've plateaued, and that kind of makes me sad that I'm not growing as much as I thought I would be, as much as I think I should be. I don't know. It's really hard to know definites though with social media, and it's very it's just kind of like you just really don't know what's going on. There's no right way to do it, and when you do the right way, it comes off as just not, just go on Instagram Explore page, and like if you see a cool looking video, it's probably that somebody reposted it, and it's probably like, cars are cool, what do you think? Like, that's not a real, you can't engage with that. What's the point of that? It's probably to make a page up so big to make a brand deal. I get it. We're all trying to grind to make some goal, to make something happen. And that's the thing, like a lot of people are doing this type of thing of trying to do something to make money. And I know that I technically am. At the end of the day, I am. But even like something with the stuff that I do with like fingerboarding, it's really not for money at all. It's just because I like it. Like, it's just the hobby that I have. And I also like kind of running like a little brand. I mean, I'm not a brand, but like a little like managing my thing, and like it's like a mini career that you don't get paid for. I think that's just fun because I like stuff like that. It's like playing a game where you, like Animal Crossing, where you're kind of doing tasks but not getting actual money for it. Like it's fun to have something that's kind of like a simulation of a larger thing. And I think maybe the fingerboard industry someday will get to the point where you can. I don't know if it will. I think we're all kind of in it for the love, and I mean that's why I film things. Like, it's for the love of like figuring out new tricks. Like, there's no other reason. So, and showing people new ideas that are in my brain. So, and I guess that's kind of the same thing for the art stuff. I think in my other, my main page, Kirsten Rutabaga, like my main like face to the world, or even streaming, or even on YouTube, that's just been a completely like dead weird grind, though, if I'm being quite honest. I don't want to say I'm like ungrateful for the people who have commented on videos, the people who have like reached out to me and said really nice things. Like, those people do exist. I'm not getting 0 views on my videos, but it's kind of like this weird thing where if I look at other people, I compare myself to other people, because that's a big thing with this too. If I'm looking at Adore and Electra, I'm looking at these people who are releasing music and getting attention. I'm always looking to that and back engineering it to see how they did it. But no matter how smart I think I am, no matter how crafty I think I can be by doing that, no matter how much I nerd out on the process of making something and becoming successful, which I do kind of enjoy nerding out on, but sometimes I think it's not healthy. No matter how much I do that, I never get a clear answer, because it always involves some amount of luck and chance. And I mean, luck and chance is kind of nothing. Like, it's kind of just something happened, and in another case you do the same thing and it doesn't. Like, the concept of luck slash chance, not that they're the same thing, but probability, is just a measurement of something happening. It's not like this thing. I don't necessarily know if you can intention your way into a situation like that. It's possible that in mass groups of people, like stuff like prayer or meditation or intention, we hear a lot about that stuff, and it's possible that that stuff can have I don't know how that stuff works. There might be science behind it that we just haven't figured out yet. It's completely possible that, in my deepest of deepest head spaces, I don't think I'll ever become known for anything. I don't think I'll ever get paid for my art at the level that I want to. I don't think I deserve it. Maybe those things are actually influencing real life playing out. At the end of the day, I just don't know. And I don't think that I really think that, because the issue is, the whole reason why I named this stream the way I did, and I'll name the video the way I did, is because I always think about everything that I do, not like daily stuff, but the things that I put out, I always think about it in terms of like a legacy, and like who will find this stuff, and like the importance of it being around for a while, and like people looking at it, and if anyone, and that someone will care. And I don't think that I logically, I don't think that they will. I have to, even if I get proven wrong, because even right now I'm like, well, wouldn't it be ironic somebody watching this stream when I do, like, quote, make it, and then being like, oh, they had no idea. Like, yeah, and well, maybe I did have an idea, right? Maybe I did have a goal in mind, and I thought something would work out. Maybe, but also, like, no, I have to know that. No, probably not. I'll probably have a life like many other people around me. It's probability wise, the probability is stacked that way. I will never be that person that, I don't know. I just hope that I get to see like what being a homeowner is like, or, I mean, we just got a cat. That's pretty cool, because I didn't think that was even in reach, because I don't make a lot of money, but my partner does. Not a lot of money, but enough to support like a normal job. I do not have a normal job. I have many abnormal jobs that don't pay like nearly enough, and because of that, I don't buy anything. I like hoard my money, because if something bad happens, I don't want to get buried in debt, whatever. So I just kind of never do anything. And that's fine, and that's a lifestyle choice, and I would never complain about that, because I could easily not, and I could easily have like $50 in my bank account every month when all the bills are due, but I don't, because because I save money and I don't spend it once I have it. But that's a lifestyle choice. A lot of the stuff I do is a lifestyle choice. A lot of that, I want to make my life work out in the way that my goals are set for absolutely free, is a lifestyle choice. I don't promote anything by paying money. That's a lifestyle choice, because I know that it can happen. I know that I could plausibly make it all happen for free, because I've seen it done before. I've seen other people do it. Again, the back engineering thing, it's like I saw it happen and then I got obsessed with it. And it's kind of a bad thing. I think Aurora said a good thing to a tweet that I tweeted like a month ago. Let me see if I can find it, because it is pretty good. Because I tweet about this stuff a lot. I think, especially like when I'm working on stuff that isn't for me or something, like I definitely kind of obsess about it. I guess when I have a lot of time to think. Okay, I try to tell myself my life will probably turn out me working low normal jobs forever and being mildly creative is just a hobby. But I always have this thing where I think I'll, quote, make it, and someone will see my, quote, potential. I know rationally that shit will not work, but I don't know. And then I replied to my own tweet, or whatever it's called. subtweeted, oh gosh, like I always think about one day when I'm a homeowner and some creative thing I did turned into a career, and how I'll look back on this time and be like, wow, shit's different. Like, that won't happen, in caps, but it could, but it won't. F, who let me be like this? And I thought maybe, I don't know how to find it, but I think either for that tweet, Aurora responded with something about like that it's definitely a mix of like fame culture, fame like obsession, and capitalism, which is very true. And I was like, yeah, those are definitely two words that you could apply to that. And so I just kind of think about that a lot, and I'm like, why am I like this? Why everything I put out creatively, I don't imagine no one hearing it. You know, I know that will be the case for definitely like a week. No one will give me any feedback on anything. That's fine. I expect that. I'm not blaming anyone. Or maybe like 2 people will listen to if I make a music thing or something. That's awesome. I love you guys. Thank you so much. That's who I do it for, honestly, and I should be content with that, which I think we got into that discussion on last episode of like, I should be grateful, you know, hypothetically it all should be like, I'm good, I should be good doing things for like 4 people, my 4 patrons, I should be good with that, right? You know, I'm at a weird point where my patrons are primarily the people who like watch my stuff, and I don't think a lot of other people do. It's just the people who have found it and are like, this is for me, which tells me that I make a really specific thing. And but also on the internet, I'm like, there's an audience kind of for everything, you know. That's a little bit overused as a concept, but again, I'm like, there's space for everyone here, and I think that also sounds idealistic. But you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a way to do it. I just don't know how. And that's kind of weird, but that's just how it is. That's like, all I'm describing is just how it is. There's kind of no way to fix it, I think, as far as I know. Okay. So, where does that leave me now? I'm like, what am I doing with my life? I think, unfortunately, in my head, I'm like, I'm doing exactly what I want with my life, but it's not working in the way that it should be working. And I genuinely feel bad about that. I genuinely feel guilt a lot around that. You know, creative guilt is a big thing that small creators deal with a lot, and that sucks. I'm not even saying for myself that it sucks, it does, but for other people, that I feel so bad for other people that go through that, because I know what it's like to be creative and feel guilt around it. The same way, if you took a day to relax and play video games or something, the same way in this capitalist system, I guess, that you'd feel bad about that because of all, like all the men in I can't say like all the men in my life, but like all the men that I've ever known are very about like working hard and earning your, paying your dues and all this stuff. I don't want to solely blame it all on men, but coming from that world, it's kind of that's where I'm informed by working hard, I guess, and like really stressing myself out and just breaking myself, because that's just how it works. That's just what you have to do. You have to break your back, because that's just what we do here, and I don't necessarily not agree with that. I think like we're in a weird thing. We're in a weird system where you kind of have to support, you have to like, if you're able, I gotta stipulate that, like, if you're physically and mentally able to do stuff, I guess you should be doing stuff. I don't know, but I always kind of think about myself in the way that, like, I am doing stuff. Again, every time I talk about this, I'm doing something extremely, like, silly. And I'm like, this is not a good example. But, like, I'm an artist, I'm a creative person. Like, what is working hard in that? Have I worked hard at being an artist? I've certainly made a lot of stuff. I've certainly expressed a lot of ideas that I think are original. And then I get into, well, I haven't necessarily gotten the goals and the I guess the accolades. I hate that idea that like you need accolades to be a successful creator, but sort of like the response to your creativity in a lot of ways dictates it dictates the money that you get from it, which is how we measure everything under capitalism. Is like, does it make money? If it doesn't, cut it out. Ooh, I have a very good plan for covering the edges of this. If I just go beyond the point where it will clip off. Oops. Well, we'll just not do the back. Yeah, like, does it make money? Is it lucrative? And that's the whole reason why somebody would ever sign someone like me or any other music artist to a label. It's like, will it make us money? Can we get a bunch of money for what you're going to make us? Nobody would ever listen to somebody's, not say never, but this isn't how it works. Like, if somebody listened to somebody's music and said, "Oh my gosh, that's the best thing I've ever heard. Like, you're so creative. You deserve so much more. I'm going to give you a platform." That definitely does happen sometimes, I think. But that's not usually the reason why people give out record deals or give out stuff like that. It's usually because, oh, you could make me a bunch of money. It's usually because of that, because everyone kind of needs to be supported, I guess. Like, if you make a record company, you got to stay in business somehow, I guess. I understand that, and I think it'd be weird for me to not get that, or to be like, that's silly. Why doesn't everyone just give everything away for free? Like, I don't know. I get why. Like, I also don't want to be that millennial that that everybody rips on. But it's just kind of weird. Trying to think about, like, why, if it were to work out for me, like, why would somebody support me? How would that work out? And it would be from somebody seeing my potential, but knowing they could make money off of it. And ouch. Like, but also, okay, if you're paying me, fine. But it's just a lot of people using people. I mean, that's what they say about LA, right? It's like, you can't, you go meet people and it's always about, like, how can you get used by other people with your influence, influencers and stuff. Like, how can you? It's kind of sick. It's kind of, in a bad way, it's kind of gross. But that's kind of how it is. Unfortunately, I don't know. I don't really know a lot about that world, but I've heard a lot. And, can't really chalk it up to all one thing probably, but, I'm sure that I felt it too. Like, you have a potential connection, and you're like, ooh, well, this person technically could get me, like, kind of a bit of a platform from, if I befriend this person, maybe it will be good for me. And it's a little gross, weird reason to have friends. But I think that's sort of how stuff is now, a little bit, unfortunately. And yeah, I don't think that's a good vibe to be putting out. But I don't know. So yeah, I don't like that. So I don't know where I'm at with creative stuff now. So with that tweet, I'm like, I need to completely give up in my head, because I have this thing in my head where I'm like, no, it's gonna happen. It's definitely gonna happen. Maybe by giving that up, I'm kind of relinquishing all that potential intention energy, which, F it. If it makes me a better person, F it. Like, bye. I don't want it. I don't want to be that way, because just grinding for one thing you're eventually going to die. Like, enjoy the ride, meet people, have experiences. The only reason I can actually figure out like decisively of living is like you have experiences and you learn lessons. That's, if your whole life is about learning one lesson about why you shouldn't obsess over fame or something, like, I don't know. I personally, that could happen. That could be fine. Personally, I don't want that to be my whole life, because I don't know. I just feel like I'm here for other things, not for that. Whether it's true or not, and whether it goes black when you die, I don't know. I don't know. I suspect that it's not. I suspect that there are reasons why we're here. I suspect that, but again, I don't know. I wake up every day and I'm like, all right, time to do something, And sometimes that doing something is cleaning toilets. Sometimes that doing something is doing things that I don't want to do necessarily. Setting my life up in the past few years to cut out the things that I definitely don't want to do that will give me mental issues actively. Learning to cut those things out, learning when and how to cut those things out has been really helpful. Learning the things like being a janitor, learning that stuff that I can do, that I'm physically and mentally able to do without completely losing it, that's been really helpful. And I don't know, growing an audience, I guess, a very small audience, and having that like work out for the very first time of, having a Patreon and having 3, 4, 5, however many people support me there and actually pay me real money. That's been a big deal, whether or not they keep paying me money, like just the fact that it happened for however long it's been happening, like, wow, that shows to me that, okay, so something's possible here. Something's definitely possible. I'm not necessarily making garbage, and even if I am, I mean, a lot of stuff that, like, I enjoy garbage content sometimes. I don't know, it's not, things aren't as objective as we might think they are, I suppose. And also I'm a lover of kind of gross and ugly things, so sometimes stuff isn't just objectively ugly or something. How long have I been going for? I actually don't know. Oh gosh, when you see yourself in the camera and you're like, that's the worst thing I've ever seen. Okay, we will try not to self-hate here, because I hate when people do that. We love a good, what do you call that when you use a joke that is forget what that word is. I don't mind that, but I don't like the kind of, just completely ripping on yourself every chance you get. I don't think that's good. So, I'm trying to do that. But the things I know are that I like making things, and I love having a group of people benefit from the stuff that I make. Unfortunately, a lot of the things that I've been making are very much like about this, and about the problems that, not having stuff not work, releases. It's very much about that, and I don't know, who knows? I don't know how enjoyable that is to listen to, but right now it's on my mind. Right now I'm thinking about, why is my brain always doing that? Why am I so absolutely obsessed with that, with the level of fame that's like, you're not famous, but you're lightly famous, and you could like get in a in a magazine, and people will be like, oh, who's this, and it will be like a thing that people will discover who you are, and then you might not ever get into that type of magazine again, but like you did, right? Like, you're not a one-hit wonder, you're not a absolute celebrity, you're just kind of like floating in between and having a career and having people pay attention to you and stuff. You can't manufacture it. Is it desirable? I don't know. It's probably stressful to be always doing the thing that you want to do for your job day in and day out, touring and stuff. I can't imagine. It's probably not the best. I mean, as someone who doesn't want to leave their house ever, like, sheesh, that is probably rough. But it might be worth it. It might be worth it to do that for a few years. And if it makes people happy as well, like if people get joy from your thing, like to me, I'm like, what is better than that? What is better than someone benefiting from your content? Or even if it's like skateboarding or fingerboarding, for me, my personal situation, where like I love coming up with new tricks, people being inspired by the tricks that you made up, the things that you put hard work into filming. You know, it's not necessarily just to like show off, which sometimes in my head I'm like, am I just doing that a lot? Like, am I just showing off? I don't have an answer for that. And again, with everything that I'm always like in my head being like, I have to admit, I have to force myself to admit that like that could be a possibility, because the second that I don't, I'm like, I probably am. The second that I don't is the second that I definitely am. So, you know, and that's a little cringy, but at the same time, it's very human. But I would prefer to be, yeah, I think I always want to prefer to be doing things for the right reasons, and kind of have some integrity in that, again, because I love when other creators have that integrity as well. I think it's the best. I think it's something to be cherished, right? When people are genuine, original, etc., coming up with new ideas, freaky, I love it. Different. You don't have to be freaky to be different. You could just be different than you could be normal and different from the things that the people that we champion in the mainstream, in all sorts of ways. Like, goodness gracious. And I think social media has really opened that up a lot, which is pretty cool. You know, just kind of looking at people's follower counts and like seeing that people have had like micro success that would not make it in like normal celebritydom, that wouldn't be given a chance by like the whoever's giving people chances, the bigwigs, you know, it's really cool to see that you can do it yourself. I'm very about do it yourself. I always have been, ever since I was a kid. Like, it probably goes back to not having too much money personally to go spend and buy things. Like, definitely my parents were the type, if I really wanted something, they would go out and buy it for me. Like, if I needed new skateboard trucks or something, they would definitely drop, like, you know, they would say like, can you find the cheapest ones, but they would still do it. Like, I did have I can't be like, oh, I didn't have any money growing up. Like, we did have money, but at the same time, it was like kind of always budgeting myself, always being like, okay, I can't, you know, and then it's like, well, I could do so much stuff for free, you know, I don't have to even budget for that, I could just do it. You know, the first skateboard I made was out of a plank of wood and K'NEX wheels and nails. It didn't work, but you get the point where I'm like, I'll just build it. Like, I don't have a right, like I don't have to go out and buy one, I'll just make it myself. I got the stuff, you know, I could find the stuff in the trash and build it. And again, it doesn't always work out the right way. Of course not. But if you have that mentality, I feel related to you, and I love that, and I hope that I always have that to work with. I really love that, and I love being that way, and I wouldn't have it any other way. That's like the most me thing ever. And I think a lot of people that know me would agree, I guess. So I don't know where this shape ended up. It looks like it's completely behind everything ever. Okay, wow. Oh, weird. So I'm obsessed with thinking about that I could do it for free, you know. I'm obsessed with doing everything myself. I'm obsessed with making stuff. And I'm constantly like, but how is it gonna work out for me? Because it is. Because by asking that question, I'm admitting to myself, and by saying it to you, that I think it's going to work. How is it going to work out? You know, that wordage. How is it going to? Because it is going to work out. But I have to tell myself it's not. Not even in the way that like I think it is, but I gotta tell myself, I gotta fake it. You know, I gotta. It's not even like that. I like, for my own sanity, I have to just accept that it's not going to happen for me. You know, I'm never going to get to that point, no matter how many things. Like, okay, I don't know if this is damaging to small creators to be thinking this way. but maybe it weeds out the people who are like serious about it and the people who aren't. People who are just doing it to like get stuff. No matter how many things you make, no matter how good they are, no matter, you know, if the thing that you make could be like the next, whatever you want to compare it to, like the thing that the banger of an album of that century, the painting that everybody looks at in the future, the whatever it is, the thing that is referenced time and time again, you know. And I think that's a lot of where the stuff stems from, is the cataloging throughout the rise of the digital age, through like the 80s through now. We have obsessively cataloged artists, and people from my generation, before that social media bubble like popped, before it started to pop and expand in terms of like it's a good thing but it's a bad thing for people being known because of saturation. When that happened, we all were like seeing people get noticed for stuff. We were all seeing people get praise for the creative things that they did. People that like praise probably like that too. Or probably were like, okay, I see how it works, but it doesn't work that way. That's the thing. No matter what you do, if it could be literally like probability wise, logic wise, everything wise, it sort of unfortunately has to be this way. No matter what you do, it might never go public. It might never be seen by anybody. It might never be noticed. It might never be recognized for. It might never be like praised for how much it deserves to be praised. Again, not even talking about my own things. I don't think I deserve squat. Like most of the things that I make I don't like, but some I do. But even those I do, I don't even think it, because I'm just like, I'm so overthinking that I've been like underappreciated or something. That feels so disgusting. It feels so gross to be like, I just feel sad because, you know, and that's normal to feel that way, and it's fine to feel that way if you do feel that way. I can't be like, oh, it's so silly if you feel like sad because your things didn't get views. Like, I experience that all the time. We have to be honest that we experience it, right? It's not, you know, it's a little cringe, so be it. Like, that's just how it is. And then I think about like, well, who did I make it for? I made it for myself. Who did I make this thing for? Who am I doing this stream for? For other creators, but I just had to get it off my chest. I'm doing all this for myself. I don't even know if this stream is working. Like, it's not for anyone else but myself. And then I say like, that's right. That's how it should be. You know, you took a little time out of your day to make a thing that might benefit other people, but in the end, it's going to benefit you. You're going to get these ideas off your chest. Hopefully I didn't like say anything too wild or like offend people, but you know, by being this loud about it. But it's like, I'm just kind of over that, and I'm over feeling bad for myself that you know. But it's that constant thing of like, you put up an album and you're like, ooh, maybe like this will be the one. Maybe this will be like something that people actually pay attention to, versus all the other stuff that you did that nobody. But then I look back at my stuff in the future, look back at the things, and I'm like, you know, maybe the stuff that I kind of like didn't put that much effort into, and I kind of at the time I'm like, you know, it's okay. You know, I'm a little bit lacking these areas, but I'm just kind of winging it. I'm just kind of feeling it, you know. And I listen back to stuff now, specifically some music stuff, and I'm like, it's not that good, you know. Who would listen to this? And again, there's an audience for everyone, but sometimes it's just like, maybe that's being your own worst critic. But I just don't, I just feel like everything's really relative, and sometimes just, you know, sometimes you just gotta do stuff that's not good. Sometimes you just gotta not get paid for your time. I was going to say that earlier. If I think about the amount of hours that I've spent doing things and not getting paid for them, from a capitalist perspective, I'm a complete idiot. I'm a complete buffoon for living the life the way that I do, for living my life, spending my time the way I do. But when I die, I know for a fact that I am going to, if any of what I'm doing carries over through death, if any of the experiences that I've had with people, you know, that happen to have to do with my creative things that I put out there, if any of those experiences get recorded somewhere, those are going to be what I'm thinking about, not like how many toilets I clean, not how many floors I swept, not how many and obviously a lot of our goals are to like fuse the capitalist stuff with the creative stuff. A lot of us small creators, that's kind of the goal sometimes, depending on your personality. For me it is. I'm like, how can I turn this into something that I do, like actually do, like something that like my dad, my mom would be proud of me doing, right? And not to say that they're not, but it's like when you don't have that connection of people actually interacting with your things, giving you money for stuff, for your products, for your goods, saying your things aren't absolute crap, like when you have that validation, it's like, oh, you're actually doing something. Without the validation, it's like you don't know. And I think that's another thing that's frustrating about kind of being more like unknown, I guess, in the online art world, in the legitimate real life art world, in the music world, in everything that I've kind of been working on. A lot of stuff just doesn't really connect to anything, to any people. A lot of stuff does, but primarily things that I don't know if I could ever make money off of, if I'm being honest. But I do have talents. I recognize that I'm good at things. We have to, as creative people, when you spend enough time on something, I don't know what the 1,000-hour rule or whatever, you spend enough time on something, you become a master at it, maybe. Again, I'm not doing something right now that I'm a master at, but just saying, you can understand that you're good at something. That's not inherently bad. You can understand that you're proud of your taste. You're proud that you I'm gonna put a little hat on. Maybe I won't put. You're proud that you have weird ideas. You're proud that you have whatever it is. Like you can have those feelings of like you're doing something that you're proud of. I think that's fine. Because sometimes like the whole like humility, humble bragging deal of like, I know what hat I'll put on him. Mushroom hat. The whole thing of like being so humble that it's annoying to people, of just like, oh, I'm no good at anything, and then you're like pretty good at what you're doing, and then all that does is annoy other people around you who might also, who might be not good at the thing, and then they're like, well, oh gosh, if they're not good, then what about me? Jeez. So I never want to be that, and I definitely have the propensity to do that because I love, it's the same reason I love drinking hot sauce. Like it hurts so good, right? It's masochistic. But maybe we should invert that. At least I'm having fun. But I think it's bad for us to be like, as creators, to be super like masochistic and like, I suck, I'm the worst. Especially if it's connected to views. If you're basing everything around how many views that you get, that's not good. But it's so easy to do, especially if you rope in like 10 views per video like I do. Like it's so kind of sad, I guess, and interesting at the same time to kind of look back at it from a clearer perspective of like, wow, I'm basing my life, my worth, what I assume is my worth, I'm basing that all off of like a view count, and that's awful. Or like a like count to a post that I made, or like, you put out a post and you're like, oh, this will probably do well, it's a selfie, it'll probably do well, and then it's worse when it's not a selfie, when it's something you really worked hard on, and then like you don't get that much response from it. I love my Instagram audience, by the way. They're probably one of the most like largest and consistent audiences that I have, so I'm not trying to like be mean to anybody there at all. You guys are awesome. Like I can never complain about any of that. I love the people on Instagram. I've connected with so many people there that I wouldn't have otherwise. I'll say that. So, but you post something up, it doesn't perform well or whatever the whole influencer speak is, and then you're like, ugh, I'm just no good. That's not good. That's toxic. I fall into it all the time. Can't even pretend like I don't. So what does that mean? I should probably wrap this up because I feel like I've gotten everything off my chest. I was just thinking a lot about this morning. I was washing all my shoes. Sometimes you just kind of wash your shoes. Washing all my shoes and thinking about it and being like, I have at least some points. I have at least some points of reference of like who I would my potential creative career could look like. I have some references. I've seen people do it. I'm not, maybe I'm not stable for thinking that I personally could do it. I'm just saying that like creatively, I've seen it done before, and I've seen it done with much like less resources than I have, etc. And I think that's super cool. Like, I think that we need that. Like, that needs to be how it's set up. It needs to be that anyone can do it, because that's how the coolest people are going to become known, right? Again, not me. I'm not that, but other people who are cooler than me. Oh, I feel like I'm just like walking myself out of the hole that I dug that I'm walking back into. So, in a sense, maybe I think that I am cool. Maybe I have become so disillusioned with myself. I mean, to keep myself in check, I look in the camera over here and I'm like, oof, not good. Looks wise. But that's fine. Maybe I'm just a balance. Maybe it's just the balance of looking okay sometimes and then looking ferocious other times. That's fine. That should be the norm, honestly. Wear what you want to wear and be how you want to be. Screw if anybody's like, you don't look pretty all the time. Mind your business. Also, sometimes it doesn't matter. I don't think anybody's ever said that to me yet, but I think it. Weird. Anyway, this has been a stream. I don't know if anybody was in the chat, because I didn't look at the chat. Just wanted to stay focused. I don't know how I'm going to approach that in the future. I don't know if I'm going to do chat jams in the future, but maybe for certain things. But that was, I think I got to some conclusions. I don't know if I did or didn't. It's hard to say. It's very hard to say, actually, whether I figured anything out by saying that. But if you're watching this back on YouTube, I'll look at the stream comments after I turn this off. But if you are on YouTube and have some points to add, or if you think I was just wrong at saying a certain thing, let me know. Type it in the comments. I will read it and hopefully respond, maybe respond. And yeah, I think a lot of my content has always been about like how it's just weird being creative on Earth in 2019, whatever. And it's a fact. I don't know if I really need to beat it into the ground that much more. I think it's a little bit played for me to just always be talking about it. Whatever. That is what it is. And but yeah, again, it's on my mind. It's a big thing that I think about every single day, because I'm like, am I wasting my time? Should I just go out and fill my full-time job energy with just janitor jobs, or like, I don't know. I don't have like a lot accessible to me, I guess, and especially not a lot of things that I actually enjoy doing. So maybe that kind of like deters me from doing it, because I'm like, well, I'm just gonna be tired all the time, and I'm gonna be like physically stressed all the time, and like, do I, can I pay when my body breaks because of that? Can I pay for what happens? Can I really handle that? And I not now, I can't, but maybe that is the path that I should be taking. I'm just confused a lot, and kind of like, I don't really know what I should be doing. I know that I definitely exist in many spots of privilege. Like, I could easily be not here at home right now. I'm home in the middle of the day. Could easily not be affording to do that. So in a lot of, I'm thankful for at least having, again, it's like my life, this is how I would have it. You know, doing creative things with my time is how I would have it. Again, this won't make me money. There, you know, never say never, but what I'm doing, I'm spending a lot of stuff with my time, right? I'm spending my time, right, by definition, to get nothing in return. I just had to do this. Doesn't matter. Yeah, and I love that, and I wish I could do that every day. And would love to support myself under capitalism from that. But personally, I don't know how to make that happen. And again, like, the conclusion to all this is that I have to be mentally okay with never having that happen for me, because no matter how hard I try, no matter how hard I grind, no matter the whole mind over matter thing, when you ask people how they're successful, when you try to back engineer it in that way, so how did it happen? How did you blow up overnight? So and then people say, well, you just work hard and you just, no. Yes, that's a factor, but primarily it's luck. And, like, to be fair, I hear a lot of creative people who have been successful. I hear them say that. I hear them cite that a lot. I hear them say, well, it's a lot luck, and I was just kind of at the right place in the right time. That may never happen for all of us. That may never happen for me. That's sad, and it's a disappointment. And when do I stop trying? I am kind of so far out in the weeds a little bit that I don't know if I ever will. That's scary. That's like, you know, because when I'm home doing this stuff, I consider it kind of like sort of like work. Like, it's not, again, I'm not making any money at it, but I could be, right? When I'm working on music, when I'm spending whole days working on albums and stuff, I'm like, it could be worth it someday. This could be worth my time. It could be like an investment. It could be a return. I'll never know if I don't try. You know, do I love to do it? Am I doing it for the money? No, I do love to do it. It's my favorite thing in the world. And the money is, like, the potential of money ever is never, like, the forefront. And I don't think that, I want to say, like, it should be for all artists, like, it should not be for all artists, but for me, I never want to be doing my creative thing just because there's money on the other side, because that's when your creative thing kind of might get gross. You might end up with a bad product that no one likes. I've seen it happen a million times. And it's nasty. You never want to fall into that. I would say, you know, again, it's kind of like, if it makes you money, then that's awesome for you. But if that's how you support yourself, I don't know. But you know, it's scary. It's very scary for me when I'm like, okay, I spend all this time on stuff. I don't get, like, necessarily, like, a huge money return. For, like, the hours that you put in compared to any normal job, compared to, like, the lowest level job, compared to anything, it's never equal, at least in my experience. It could be easily equal. Like, random YouTubers get a few $100 from Patreon every month. Like, that's a bill. You know what I mean? Like, you can cover a handful of bills with that money, and and that's a big step in your life, you know. And it takes like 100 people on Patreon, or less than that if they're giving more than $1. It only takes like a few people to be into your thing. A few, but what is a few? What is, you know, what do you, I don't know, like, what do we deserve as creative people? What do we, are we even making things of value? Is what I've just done a thing of value? I think it is, because nobody talks about this. But again, it's like, no one's gonna see it. No one's gonna, I don't know. It might, but they might not, right? Just this video, for example, this isn't really like a product that's like an album or something, but I don't know. It calls into question why I make things. But then that leaves me with two things where I'm like, well, I actually make things because I just make stuff. I can't not. It's an addiction that I have. I just make things. I think those are some of the most interesting to me people in society, obsessively creative people. Those are the people who make society richer, who make the most interesting things, that make the world brighter. Cherish those people, yes. But also, for myself, realizing that I'm just an obsessively creative person who hasn't ever found a career in it, who's semi-trying to. It's like, yeah, I'm trying to. But trying to do it for no money because I don't have money to spend on it. Because life, because living, because capitalism, because I don't have a good job, because whatever. My job's fine, but it's not like a quote unquote real job. Or like the few jobs that I have that randomly pay me as well. I have a handful of things, but I don't make that much money. Right. And that worries me. Adult brain is very worried, and has always been worried about that. And I've definitely like made tweets about that before of like, okay, so I'm this thing that just like makes random stuff. Right. And I found myself here, and I'm like, all right, well, how am I gonna be me doing that? Is it privileged to be able to do that stuff with all your time? Definitely, right? Definitely. And then it's like, well, how do you can you would you want to counteract that with like, well, I worked really hard to get here? A lot of creative stuff is play, really. Like this, I am playing right now, and I'm enjoying it immensely. But it's a luxury, within the system. Should it be a luxury? Personally, I don't think so. I believe that every creative person, especially when they're at like the edges of like obsessiveness, when that's just like what they do. I don't think I'm like at the edges of obsessiveness, but when those people are themselves, when they're allowed to be themselves, yes, they're some of the most interesting people in society. Do they all deserve an audience? Do they all deserve a paycheck for what they're making? Heck yeah. Like, I'd be foolish to say that they don't, because I kind of am lumping myself in with them somewhat, of just creative people in the society. But does every creative person deserve praise and deserve, like, obviously you have to work hard. You don't just get like, oh, your stuff's awesome, like, that's not really how it works. Like, if everybody just doled out compliments all the time, then it's like, well, you're just used to compliments, like what? And also, is compliments really what it's about? For some people maybe, but personally, that's only a fraction of like what makes me happy or feel like I'm doing something that is worthwhile. But that is a factor of people being like, oh, this brightened my day. Like, what is better than that? What is better than knowing that somebody was benefited by a thing you made? I don't know. I don't think anything is. That's like the I don't know. And it's not even the knowing of it. It's not even the you knowing of it. It's that somebody actually benefited from it. Like that you karmically impacted somebody's thing for the better. Like that. I feel like that's a worthy goal, if anything, in my experience of this world. Can't do much else. Don't have a lot of stuff that I can really do like that, but that's one I can, and so I'm gonna pursue it. But yeah, it just worries me, the input of time and stuff. And do I get better at art every time I go to my computer, every time I pick up a paintbrush? Yeah, I improve. My style changes. I always want to be changing and learning. I don't think that the things that I make are necessarily like awful or hurting people. I would hope not. That's like my greatest hope that is not happening. I don't want things to be hurting or offending people. But I just like, I think I'm doing the right thing, and I'm not sure if I am. But yeah, that capitalist adult brain is really is hella worried about my daily routine and how I've been living for the past 5 years of like, what are you doing? I save. The thing is, I don't make that much money, so I love to save. All the parental figures in my life have always taught me to save, which I think is important, because then you kind of get a lot of. I guess if you have a lot of money, you should donate it too, though. It's not all about hoarding money. But I don't know. I also think you should probably save enough so that you can live without not living. Like, that makes sense to me. Finding that balance. But right. It is weird. I guess more money, more problems is the thing, definitely. So I don't really I'm just kind of weird with that, where I'm like, well, I should have more money now. I really should. Not even from creative things. I just should have been working this whole time, probably. But I know that I would kind of hate myself a little bit, if I'm being honest. And I would probably not be as happy and as content as I am now. I'm like content, but I'm just constantly a little worried of like, what am I doing? You know, what? And then it kind of sucks that I know that if something did work out, then that would be like the solution. Like, all along, it was going to work out. But again, you have to realize that it could never work out, and that's very troubling. And it's like, what are we even doing any of this for? Well, I'm doing it to impact like one person's life, and that's enough. That should be enough. But yeah, adult brain says it's not. But kind of go out on a limb and say, F that. And if I die in the process, if this kills me, if being creative kills me, I can't help it. I couldn't help it. I don't know. It's just what I do. And that's a truth. You know, that's a truth. And there's privilege in that position, and I'm thankful to find myself here every day when I wake up and say, I'm still alive. What? You know, it's like, okay, cool. Like I could, yeah, it's a little bit of like, I could make this happen today. I could really do something good today. And then I get to the end of the day, I'm like, what did I do? Made this weird 3D sculpture. Is it worth anything? No. Maybe to somebody it will be, though. What is it worth? I don't know. Okay, this is probably where I should leave it, because I'm just going circular conversation with myself. And thanks for watching. My name's Kirsten Rutabaga. That's the Instagram. MoldyNB on Twitter. Gosh, what else? k11r.github.io is my website, and I make stuff. And specialrutabaga.bandcamp.com is the thing. I don't know. I want to try to get some music on Spotify soon, because I just figured out that possibly Spotify for artists is free. I always thought. I come from a world where you have to pay an aggregator to get your music on streaming platforms, and supposedly that's not the case anymore, and you don't have to pay Spotify. Sounds improbable. Might be true. Might also not. Won't be disappointed if it's not. We'll be like, okay, I'm not doing that. I think there is an aggregator that gets you on Spotify for free. There used to be. I used to look at that and be like, okay, I'm gonna do that. Yeah, branding, getting yourself out there. It is good. Sort of. It's good. It is good. The internet's very large. Alrighty. Thanks for watching. Again, my name's Kier, and I'm gonna try to do this streamy weekly thing, and the backups are on YouTube. And the backups are kind of like the show, you know, it's the show. I'm basically recording my old show live because I feel like I can, and I feel like it's fun. So thanks for watching. See you later.